Hey guys, my name is Stefan, and I am the creator of LumiPro. And you're obviously watching this video because you found us through Marketplace, and you're looking at should I buy a photo studio, should I buy a LumiPro, should I buy both? And so what I wanted to do is give you just a brief education on what a photo studio does versus what a LumiPro does, so you can help make a better decision. Before I dive into the product, I want to get a little bit into a couple real life examples here. This is kind of, I think, what a lot of people think about when they think of a photo studio. They think of big light diffusers. If you notice, these things are plugged into these ginormous cables into this freaking huge box. This freaking huge box is plugged into the wall. There's wires that run from here to the camera for the strobes. It is very clear that this guy is not going anywhere with this stuff. This is expensive and fragile and etc. By the way, this is my lights that I own, and you can see they are expensive, they're fragile, and they plug into a wall. So I actually went and retooled my home photo studio. Just to let you know, I'm still a studio guy. Don't get me wrong. This is my studio at my house. Here's a couple of little shots that I've done just to show off my work a little bit. And what I retooled my studio with is portable lighting. And so this is something in the real world called a speed light, and it runs on 4 AA batteries. And you can have multiple speed lights controlled by your camera simultaneously. They don't have to be just bolted to the top of your camera either. I'll give you an example of that. These are speed lights here. There's the battery pack for this particular speed light, and there's another speed light over in here. And so what this allows you to do is free yourself out of the studio. So this is an example of freeing yourself out of the studio with the speed lights here, and this is just a photo I found on the web of someone doing it. Here's another example. Now, the reason why you know this is not done inside a studio with a backdrop is because notice how it's blurry here, it's focused here, and then blurry back here again. You just can't do that on a flat backdrop, either real life or in Second Life. And so this is something that gives you a lot of capability and control that you just really wouldn't have otherwise. Some examples of some photos I've done myself. Here is one without the light off. Here's one with the light on. Now notice what you're doing is you're trying to create just some separation and some focus so your eye knows where to go. Here's the final shot that I ended up out of that one. Here's another example of one, light off, light on. Here's another example, light off, light on. And so the purpose of this again is so you can create some separation between you and the model. Now let's go back into this photo studio. Rather than using this, which is just nothing more than prim, I'm going to use this one here, which is a one of the other studios that are available on Marketplace. I'm just going to go pose myself into this thing here. Camera angle thing always drives me a little nuts here, and I have to go to this thing and auto pose scroll. There we go. All right, so same sort of situation here. I've got a very poorly lit background against a poorly lit AVI, but what I can do is I can turn the lights on. So this thing comes with a HUD, interestingly enough. So there's a bunch of controls on the device itself, and then there's a bunch of controls available on a HUD. What I found fascinating is none of the lighting controls are on this HUD. It's all about the backdrops and the poses and whatnot, but nothing about lighting. And ultimately, this is really what you're going to see distinguishing LumiPro. LumiPro's core is in lighting. So what I got to do is go to the little lighting setup over in here, hit light menu, hit ambient lights, light on, and it turned these lights on. So again, the problem that we're having right now is the backdrop is equally lit to the avatar, which is unfortunate. Let me turn these lights off. And they have these things called, sitting at the top, called directional lights. 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. So I'm going to take all directional lights and turn these lights on. And I'm really very little better situation. I have really very little control of getting the light on the backdrop versus the light on the avatar right. There is a way to control these lights. I'm going to actually hit all directional lights off. I wish it would have popped the menu up. It didn't again. Current directional, then I select light 1 and then turn that light on. Now I've turned on one of these lights and I've got a preset, load preset. Sorry, this is a little frustrating. And I can move it. And there you can see I have a little bit of a single light. It's posing, it's casting a shadow. I can set the color. I think there's an intensity if I don't have it all the way up already. I had the intensity all the way up already. Okay, let me compare this to LumiPro. Here it comes LumiPro. The LumiPro sits here as this HUD, and it's got 3 lights here plus 1 projector, very similar to this projector from this other light has. And I'm just going to turn that light on. See the difference right away? Let me hide the prim associated with it. But all of a sudden, you've got all of this control now that you didn't have. I can change the color of the light. I can change the intensity of the light. I can change the saturation of this light. And I can change the position of this light. I can change what kind of bulb is in this light. I can go to the same sort of floodlight that they had, or we can go to spotlights, which like you had here, and there's a bunch of other choices as well. Now, what's cool? All right, so let's take this out and about in real world here. So here I am at one of these sims that I actually very much enjoy, and I'm just going to wander into this sim. Now, this sim is a no-res, and I think it may also be a no-script sim here. What you're seeing is the same thing that I mentioned before. We're having challenges with lighting. Let me show you what LumiPro does. Wearable only, and I can do this to up to 6 models, yourself and 5 others. Is there 3 lights in here, a red, green, and blue one. These are non-directional lighting. They're like lampshades. And then there's a projector here, which we were playing with in the last little bit of segment ago, and it's a directional light. So now let's take a look at turning these lights on. I'll hide these lights so you don't see the result here. And I'm just going to hit one of the quick buttons called Rembrandt here. Now, the way you give lights to your model, you just press the Give Lights button and give a set of lights to your model. Ask them to wear it. You select the model by name over in here, and you can control it. And then you can press one of these quick buttons like butterfly position or Rembrandt position. These are portrait lighting positions here. Stefan needs to not move so much, so I'm going to pose him. And I'll just pick this pose here, and he'll just sit still. Now, LumiPro holds poses, and it comes with about 90 demo poses, and you can load your own poses into the HUD yourself. LumiPro also controls the eyes. Let me show you this here. I can have him turn. I can look left, or I can look right, make him look straight. It's more than just left, right. There's actually 125 graduated positions of the lighting within this thing. Now, we talked about actually hitting the Rembrandt. Then we can sit there and play with the colors of the light. Since we're kind of in some neon-like thing, I'm just kind of evaluating some different color options in here. LumiPro comes with Lee, which is a company real life. It has pretty much their a nearly complete color catalog. And if you want info about it, you can press the info and go up and look at it. I'm just seeing what a good color is. Actually, I think relative to the neon, this is pretty good. And you can up the saturation, decide if you want it more saturated on his face or less saturated on his face. We'll go with something like that. Now, the other thing that I can do is we can turn on that projector. I select this black guy, and we can turn his intensity up. And this is where you can go for a little bit more of a high drama event. And we can play with the position of light. Notice I didn't have to move my camera angle at all to do this. So I'm just adjusting this thing until I get a camera angle that I like here. I can take the intensity up further. I can take the saturation down or up. Again, I can play with the same thing. I could even go with just a solid neon sort of look on it. I can pick something like a blue. And if I adjust this light back maybe just a little bit, notice I can get the control of the lights on the face just as easily. And this is just the projection only. I can turn the face light on and then go back to the projector, which was this really dark blue. And we'll pick something a little less intense on that. So there we go. So now all of a sudden we've got good contrast between the background and the foreground, and we can click the shot, click, and we're done. So LumiPro works just as great in a studio environment as outside of a studio environment. It runs fully well for posing, eye position, as well as lighting in a no-res environment. You can do res if you want for like the projectors, and have further control over it if you're in a studio environment. So we haven't forgot the studio needs, but works just as well. Now, if you also do like the backdrops as opposed to going in world, you certainly can do that, but you're not forced to. Hope that helps answer your questions. If you go to LumiPro Studio, there is a full-blown demo that you can run in the studio without any restrictions other than the fact that it only runs at my studio. Press help. There's some very good help available to you. One is you can go to LumiPro and actually download the manual, and there's also some quick help, and it brings up a small summary of the help on the devices. The LumiPro Flickr group has over 10,000 photos from 400 contributors. We have well over 400 people in our LumiPro Second Life group, as well as we're on Facebook, Google+, and probably some others I'm forgetting to mention right now. So look forward to talking to you. Hopefully we'll get you to buy a LumiPro. Take care.